Hello everyone, myself Dr. Vineet Kumar, Assistant Professor, the Department of Zoology, the Cochin College. Welcome back to the 7th session of our discussion on the prawn structural diversity, and today we are going to see the excretory system of Penaeus. The excretory system of Penaeus consists of a pair of antennary or coxal or green glands, commonly referred to as green glands, and these are present at the coxa. Coxa is the basal segment of the protopodite of the antenna, and this particular coxa of the antenna. There are 4 parts for the green gland or the coxal gland. They are the end sac, a labyrinth, a saccular labyrinth, a glandular tube, and the bladder, which opens to outside. So coming to the structural details of this particular green gland. So as you can see here, the position. So it is seen, so this is the second appendage or the antenna which is given, and in the second or the basal segment of the protopodite you can see the green gland, and the green gland is enlarged and shown here. So you can see the different parts. As I said, there are 4 parts. One is the end sac, also referred to as a saccule. Second is the spongy labyrinth. This is the glandular tube, and the bladder, which open to outside by the a pore, which is a pore which is at the pore which is also present at the coxa itself, and that pore is called as the renal pore, which opens to outside, through which the excretory waste is being passed out. So coming to the structural details of each, so first we'll see the end sac or the saccule. So this end sac or the saccule, it is a closed, it is a completely closed sac, and it is lined by mesoderm and also lined by excretory cells, and it communicates to the labyrinth. So labyrinth is this one. It communicates only to the labyrinth through a small opening. It opens, the other side is completely closed, and it opens only to the labyrinth, and it consists of excretory cells. And coming to the labyrinth, which is a spherical structure, which is a spongy mass. This is the labyrinth, this one is a spongy mass, and highly coiled, and it is stuffed with, it is very spongy and stuffed with many tubules, which are called as the renal tubules, which are highly coiled and highly branched, and these tubules are lined by excretory epithelium. The space between, so inside this particular labyrinth, there are many tubes. So inside the spongy structure, there are many tubes which are present, which are called as the renal tubules, and these tubules, they are lined by the excretory epithelium. And the space between the tubules, so there are many tubes, and the space between them are stuffed with connective tissue and blood lacunae. The renal tubules, so these tubules, as we said earlier, the saccule or the end sac is opening into the labyrinth, and here as we saw, there are many tubules which are present inside the labyrinth. Inside the labyrinth there are many tubules, and all the tubules, they have a common opening, and that common opening will open both to the end sac as well as the to the glandular tube. So one end of the labyrinth is where you have the glandular tube, and the other end is the saccule. Inside the labyrinth there are many tubules which are referred to as the renal tubules. So all the renal tubules, they will have a common duct on both the sides. That is, one side towards the end sac to receive the product from the end sac, and to transport it to the glandular tubule. They also have a common opening to the glandular tube or the tubule. Coming to the glandular tube, it is a long coiled tube that connects the labyrinth to the bladder. So coming on the next, the fourth part is the bladder. The bladder is lined by excretory cells, and from the bladder, a small duct as you see here, a small duct is there, which is called as a renal duct, a small narrow tube like structure called as a renal duct, and the renal duct opens at the coxa itself to the outside by a small pore, which is referred to as the renal pore. So these are regarding the structural details, and next we are going to see how this or the functional uh, specialities of this particular green gland. So the green glands, they are having head dual function. Primary one is excretion and the other one is osmoregulation. So the elimination of nitrogenous waste is usually done by the excretory system. Mainly the nitrogenous waste are ammonia, urea and uric acid. So primarily the nitrogenous waste elimination occurs through the gills through diffusion. So green glands, the function of green glands, they are excretory in function, but more than excretory, they do the function of osmoregulation. So how excretion or the excretory mechanism happens in this green glands is that, as we said, it starts with the end sac or the saccule. The end sac or the saccule, as we said, it is having many excretory, it is lined by many excretory cells, and by ultrafiltration, water and the other products, they are extracted to the end sac from the surrounding hemocoel. So this particular structure, the end sac, it lies in the hemocoel. As we said in the circulatory system, the body cavity of arthropods, which is the hemocoel. So this particular the end sac lies in a or it is surrounded by the hemocoel. From the hemocoel or the water and other products are extracted into the sac from the surrounding hemocoel. So from here, so if this is the end sac here, so this is surrounded by the hemocoel, and from the hemocoel, water and other products, they enter the end sac. And this ultrafiltrate or filtration, as there are many excretory cells, filtration or ultrafiltration occurs in the end sac, and this ultrafiltrate is, or the primary urine, get modified by selective reabsorption. So here, as we said, there are many renal tubules. So in the renal tubules of the labyrinth, the primary urine is modified by selective reabsorption of water, and the important minerals are being reabsorbed, and final urine is formed inside the labyrinth, and the output of this particular labyrinth moves towards the glandular tube and reaches the bladder. And the final urine, it contains water, the small amounts of ammonia, urine and uric acid, and urine get collected in the bladder, and it is passed out through the renal pore. From the renal pore, so it travels through this particular direction, the final urine from the labyrinth to the glandular tube to the bladder, through the renal duct to the outside through the renal pore. So this is how the excretory system or the green glands function. Mechanism by which they function. So mainly, as we said, how they function is there are many 4 parts, and in the 4 parts, the important parts are the saccule, where the primary urine is found by ultrafiltration, and the second main part is the region or the labyrinth, which consists of many renal tubules, where reabsorption happens and the final urine is formed. The other 2 regions, one is for storage and the other is for conduct of final urine to the storage site, which is bladder. From bladder, urine moves to outside. So this is all about the excretory system. We'll come up with the next session. Thank you.